All you have to ask is yes or no.
No, Congressman.
All you have to ask is
the
yes or
OCC
no.
is an independent entity, and I would know, Congressman.
I take that as a no.
You traveled to Venezuela.
I take that as a no.
On behalf of
I take that as a no.
On behalf of your
You do not want to answer that question. I take that as a no.
For a $7 billion.
I'm asking you to do your responsibility as Secretary of the Treasury.
Into a Venezuelan.
You do not.
Mr. Makes.
Will you?
Time has expired.
You cannot erase what you did in 2006.
He's the one that went past your time, Mr. Chairman.
No, and
he did not answer my question. And he wouldn't pass the time.
He had 6 seconds left to try to answer your question, and it
was a yes or no. It was a yes or no answer. I asked him, will he? No, was that yes or no?
10 and 20 million immigrants
Can you
took up the housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
Stop covering for the president. Stop being his.
And gentlemen,
he's talking to me. I'm responding back to him.
2006 trip to Venezuela.
Stop covering for the president. Don't be a work for the American people.
I want to read you a quote. Trump will pursue a weak dollar policy rather than implementing tariffs. Tariffs are inflationary and would strengthen the dollar. Do you recognize that quote?
I believe you're referring to a letter that I wrote, and
yes.
Tariffs could be inflationary.
No, it says tariffs are inflationary.
Yep. You know what?
You had said to the chairwoman, I'd like to introduce into the record a January 31, 2024 letter from, quote, Scott Bessent and the Key Square team to your partners, where that quote comes from.
Without objection.
Do you want to correct what you said to the ranking member when you specifically said that you did not say tariffs are inflationary?
Well, I think she referenced a letter in the summer of something, not that particular.
No, I think you disparaged the New York Times.
Sorry?
You said tariffs are inflationary.
Sorry?
You said tariffs are inflationary. Do you want to correct what you said to the ranking member, or did you lie?
If I was mistaken, I want to correct it. And I was also mistaken when I said that tariffs could be inflationary.
Is that the purpose of the last year, to renegotiate our trade agreements to make the U.S. economy more competitive in the global economy?
100%. There are numerous goals, but it is to make the U.S. economy more resilient. We're now seeing 4.1% growth for the past 3 quarters. So we are seeing inflation drop. So tariff inflation was the dog that didn't bark.
Our market's starting to price in a sustained shift away from U.S. assets, you believe, and what are the specific indicators you watch to see if we're seeing that pullback from foreign investors?
Yep. So what we see at Treasury is we saw record amount of foreign inflows. Despite the popular narrative, we saw a record amount of foreign inflows into Treasury auctions last year. This year, many of the auctions have traded through the prevailing price before the auction. So we are still seeing very good flow, and we are still seeing massive flows into U.S. equities. And as several of the congressmen said, we are seeing very substantial foreign direct investment.
Secretary, does the president have the constitutional authority to remove the chair of the Federal Reserve or a member of the Board of Governors solely because of a policy disagreement?
I'm not a lawyer, and I don't have an opinion.
You have no opinion on whether the president can remove a board member at will?
Well, I believe that the board member has committed.
No, just in general. I'm not asking about a particular case. I'm asking.
Or malfeasance.
I'm asking about the president's general authority. Let me ask it differently. Do you believe that the unitary executive theory applies to the Federal Reserve?
I think we'll have to wait and see what the Supreme Court says.
Well, what is your opinion?
I'm not a lawyer.
What is the administration's opinion?
There are varying opinions in the administration.
What's the prevailing opinion? The official opinion?
Again, we'll have to see.
Do you consider the Federal Reserve an executive agency or a legislative agency?
I consider it an independent agency.
So neither executive nor legislative?
So we'll see.
Therefore, independent of presidential control. So it sounds like you do have an opinion.
Again, we will see. We will see, Congressman.
Okay, thank you for establishing the independence of the Federal Reserve.
I do believe that the Federal Reserve has to maintain credibility and be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach.
And so then you believe in, I'm assuming, the independence of the Federal Reserve?
I believe in the independence of the Federal Reserve, but I also believe in accountability.
I mean, can you explain how you put those two together?
Sure. I would welcome. We've seen these cost overruns at the Fed. The Fed has the independence of the Fed is based on its trust with the American people, and the Federal Reserve lost the trust of American people when it allowed the greatest inflation of 49 years to ravage working people in this country.
You would advise the President of the United States to verbally and politically interfere with the decision-making of the Federal Reserve.
Well, it's his right, just as Senator Warren's right in September of 24 to say that they shouldn't cut 50 basis points, they should cut 75 basis points. Yeah. It's the right of everyone in here because, again, there is no appropriation for the Fed. The Fed has magic money and prints all its own money.
Yeah, I understand how the system is financed, the Federal Reserve, but Elizabeth Warren is not the President of the United States.
Could you answer the question just simply, do you support a strong dollar policy or weak dollar policy? And how would you, score your, whichever way you're trying to go, how are you doing?
We always support a strong dollar policy.
Okay, that's interesting because, as last time we spoke, I presented a couple of graphs which presented the interesting fact that every time you put a Republican in charge of in the presidency, that two things have happened, that the dollar has gotten weaker and that manufacturing employment has dropped.
Secretary Rubio said that we are not at war with Venezuela. I would agree. I'm glad we're not at war. So unless you disagree with Secretary Rubio, I'm unclear under what legal authority the United States has to control or disperse those assets.
Well, I would believe that the IEPA authority would act for a period of time for a
not unless we're not that's not
a transition.
Well, look, that's not true. But please provide in writing what you're doing there because I want to get to why I think that's material. Last week, Secretary Rubio also said that the $200 million in proceeds was sitting in a Qatari bank that was owned by Venezuela. He went on to say the Treasury has a written agreement with Venezuela's interim government to review the monthly budget request for payments from that account. I come back to where the authority comes. What statutory authority are you using to exercise custody indirectly through a third country and direct the release of funds from those offshore accounts?
Yeah, IEPA.
That's not in IEPA. You're managing, okay, so if you're managing a third country, not in IEPA, and please do provide us with the legal guidance because this matters. What controls are you putting to audit those flows? Because as you know, the Venezuelan government still has a lot of shady people. How are you controlling the dispersion of those flows so that they don't go back to some of the shady characters that the president is concerned about in Venezuela? What is the audit process?
Again, we will be bringing in outside auditors for this, and the Venezuelan government will be.
Do you have an agreement in place right now for those auditors?
Sorry?
Do you have an agreement for that audit in place right now?
Not at present.
Okay, because Secretary Rubio, when he was asked that question before the Senate, he said that the Treasury had handled the agreement that he would be providing to the Senate committee. Are you saying that Secretary Rubio was incorrect or that you're not aware of the agreement that Treasury directed according to
I'm saying I'm not aware of the agreement.
Okay, so Secretary Rubio said he would provide that to the Senate committee. Can you please coordinate with Secretary Rubio and give us your word to provide us what Secretary Rubio is providing? Because he is alleging that was done under your
with pleasure, Congressman. And okay. Just so you know, the goal here, it's been 30 days.
I want to just move, reclaim my time because the concern I have is that this would be considered a fraudulent conveyance. I have a specific concern that we've entered into contracts with companies like Vitol, who have pled guilty to bribery and all sorts of nefarious actors. If I was a company buying stolen goods and we didn't have statutory authority, I'm going to have a lot of creditors coming after me.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，选择原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good， 请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版，新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便，要吃就吃最好的。